Why are Albon and Vettel struggling so much against their teammates? That's what we'll find out in this episode. Let's get started. While Alex Albon and Sebastian Vettel struggled in the midfield at Portimao, their teammates were running in the top 4 and not for the first time. There are two sides to every story, and while we rightly laud the performances of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc when they excel, it's now almost by default that they come in contrast with struggles for their respective teammates. The pressure has been ramping up on Alex Albon this season. Much like Pierre Gasly last year, he just hasn't been able to deliver the performances to anywhere near the same level as Verstappen, and the improvement required isn't being seen. Red Bull knows there's great talent there, otherwise they wouldn't have so staunchly backed the Thai British driver. But the maiden podium in Mugello didn't prove to be the breakthrough result the team had hoped, and Albon has since picked up a solitary point in 3 races. Team principal Christian Horner said, quote, "Our first and foremost priority is to give Alex the opportunity to lay claim to that seat. Let's not forget when he jumped in that car last year, he outscored and outperformed Pierre significantly in the balance of 2019. If we were to swap them back, why would it be any different?" This is just another clear indication that Gasly won't replace Albon, but someone else might if results don't improve. So why are Red Bull so strongly defending their driver this time around compared to a year ago? Well, Gasly actually plays a big part in that answer. By excelling at Toro Rosso but then struggling at Red Bull, it was clear it wasn't solely down to driver potential on Gasly's part. His performances since returning to the junior team, a podium and a win included, only emphasize that. So with Albon following a similar path, it has become clear there is a car trait that Verstappen can handle but so few others can. Verstappen of course has a reputation that would protect him for a long time if he didn't perform, but he is getting everything out of the Red Bull and more. Whereas Albon is faced with a very nervous rear end that threatens to snap away on him, but more importantly, that has a bigger impact on how far away from that knife edge he can comfortably drive because each mistake just builds more pressure. Horner said, quote, "I think if Alex was in an AlphaTauri, he'd probably be doing a very similar job to what we saw with Pierre. I have no doubts about that. It's just the characteristics of a car. They're struggling to commit on corner entry, and you see it a little bit with the Ferrari with Leclerc and Vettel at the moment." With that perfect segue, it is time to talk about Sebastian Vettel. Perhaps one of the most perplexing scenarios we've seen in Formula 1 in a long time. This is the same driver that dominated in the early part of the last decade to win 4 straight championships and looked revitalized when he joined Ferrari after a tough 2014. Alongside Kimi Räikkönen, Vettel was dominant, but then 2 title chances slipped away in 2017 and 2018. That seemed to break his resolve. Leclerc came in last year and matched Vettel, and the German's cage was definitely rattled. Then ever since the announcement that he would not be retained, his performances have dropped off a cliff. Unlike the Albon and Verstappen comparison though, Vettel doesn't feel there is a specific characteristic of the Ferrari that can explain the deficit between himself and Leclerc. Vettel said, quote, "You're trying to adapt as soon as you can, and that's something you always have to do, and I'm doing also this year, so nothing has changed in this regard. But it's about the question of how much grip you feel is there and how much then you're using. So in this regard, maybe Charles is able to feel a different grip or a different area of the car that I'm not feeling. Clearly, I'm not going as fast and not able to feel it for whatever reason." For such an experienced driver to be speaking in such terms is surprising. Either Vettel is at a complete loss as to why he can't match Leclerc, or he's not driving the same car, and he attempts to dismiss the latter notion. And the last point is another that highlights a Ferrari problem that makes things worse for Vettel. A year ago, the car was comfortably a front runner, and so disappointing performances still yielded solid results. This year, Ferrari is at the head of the midfield on a good day, but at the back of it on a bad one. Both Vettel and Albon find themselves in traffic in difficult to drive cars on regular occasions, and wrestling one around an empty track is one thing, but trying to outbrake and outmaneuver a rival is quite another. It compounds the problems they're having. eats up their tires more quickly and hampers their finishing positions, but only they can improve that. They need to find a way of extracting out of the car what their teammates can over one lap, and from there, so much more can fall into place in terms of driving approach, strategy, and ultimately race results. Certainly, Albon has to do that if he wants to retain his seat for next season. Vettel will at least get a chance to start all over again at Aston Martin next year. Anyways, now it's time for meme of the day, and here it is. And that's been it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. Apart from that, I hope you're an awesome day, and bye bye.